Show. What the FinTech is a news and information platform covering the latest FinTech development in Hong Kong, Singapore, China, and Asia. Join us every Wednesday for an engaging conversation with one of the various Asian tech leaders to discuss about entrepreneurships, emerging technologies, customer engagement, and partnerships. Before starting this interview, feel free to share your question in the comment sections, like and share. Well, today we have not a fintech founder, but a sales tech company founders. Welcome, Youssef.
Thank you, Mehdi. Thank you for having me.
How are you doing?
Yeah, doing good. Pretty excited. I like the setup that you have around here.
Thank you very
It's
much.
actually really nice. Yeah, it's a great place to be. And I wish we could show you a bit around and just take pictures. I did actually take some pictures. So
You can share it on every platform if you want after
I
this.
will. I will.
So, Youssef, before we start this interview, can you introduce yourself a bit?
Yeah. So thanks, Mehdi, again for the chance here. So my name is Youssef El Kaddioui specifically. I'm half Moroccan, half Austrian, and I'm the founder of a company called the Scalelab. We're basically a demand generation company for B2B businesses, and we help them scale through outbound sales specifically. We'll probably dive into the details of what this means. More personally, I would say, aside of startups, growth, and so on, I do enjoy a lot of fitness, and I also read a lot about astronomy. That's kind of the things that I really care about, I would say.
If you want to learn about fitness, you can follow BeFit on Instagram. Do you have also Facebook or YouTube channel or
For now, just Instagram. Yeah.
Instagram? And what is BeFit?
BFit is a community actually of fitness people. We work out in parks in Hong Kong. Mostly something that was born during COVID to help anybody really continue in their fitness journey. So helping everybody improve their mental and physical wellness.
So I'm very excited to have you today because I think a lot of people knows you in Hong Kong, but also a bit in Singapore. Because before being the CEO of a company helping startups to reach out to their customers, you were working for VC. You were working also for Web Summit,
Yes,
based in
in Ireland. Yeah,
Ireland,
exactly.
yes, and doing one of the biggest show in Asia, right?
Yes.
So can you share with us a bit of your history and what was the turning point for you from being an investment manager and working also on some VC to become an entrepreneur?
Yeah, I think that's an interesting question, and that also led me to start the business I started today. So I worked with Web Summit, particularly with their investor team. So working with the various business angels, venture capital funds, some of the most famous ones in the world, not only in Europe, North America, but also in Asia. So they had a conference called Rise in Hong Kong, and we were helping basically those investors to also find great companies to invest in. And then after this, I moved to Hong Kong to work with a venture capital firm called Nest Ventures, also Meta, which is an entrepreneur club. So what I found out is that even though companies raise funds, they do that to scale faster. One of the main challenges that they might have is that they're not necessarily able to find clients. It's not because you have money in the bank that you will eventually find clients. There's techniques, there's tools you can use, there's strategies to go about it. So it's a whole expertise. And a lot of the companies, while they have the capital, will fail to achieve growth because they don't have the partners, they don't have the skill set to do that. And that's how came the idea of the Scalelab to become, kind of a one-stop shop or the really go-to platform for companies who want to scale and find clients. It's B2B specific. So that's what we do essentially.
That's why I really want to have you here. It's not a fintech, but you support fintechs on their developments, right?
Yes, we do work because a lot of fintechs are B2B. We work with fintech companies based in Asia. Most of our customer base is around the region, so we have an office in Hong Kong as well as in Singapore. But we also do have some clients in North America and in Europe as well.
So what is the kind of profile of the company? Are they early stage? Did they already have customers or are they raising funds?
Yeah, usually we work with companies that are achieving product market fit or already have it, but especially they've raised in general between 10 to 300 million US, and they are in a phase where they need to grow rapidly. This is why it's also scaling. And the challenge that they face is the same that I had mentioned just before, which is you might have the money, you might have the capital, so you need to recruit people as well and grow the business, achieve new markets as well. But tackling new markets and growing fast is really a challenge. And outbound sales, so this is what we do. We help them basically generate leads on a weekly basis, month after month, to really consistently be able to speak to their prospects. Using outbound is a proactive approach rather than inbound, which is more reactive. It works, of course, like it's also a matter of scale. But whenever you need to grow faster, outbound is a very good alternative for that. And it's mostly a matter of being able to find the right people that you can engage with. So really understand what the target markets are, diving deep in this, but also being able to engage with those targets consistently. Personalization or even like hyper personalization is very important because it's a matter of catching people's attention and delivering value actually when you engage with them. Best
So
first impressions, really.
let's say I'm a founder of a company or head of business development, and I have some difficulties to hire people, and
Yeah,
I want to reach out to you.
yeah,
What will be the normal prospect for you to
yeah,
come, and what will be the process to
yeah.
start the relationship with the company?
Yeah, so there's really two kinds. I mean, we don't do really necessary recruitment, but we work with companies that have challenges to hire people to do exactly what we do. Because one, it takes time. A lot of the great profiles are also like already hired somewhere; they won't necessarily move. And not only it takes time to get people on board, also having them ramp up takes time. Whereas when you work with us, it's kind of a almost a press the button and get started because we have our pool of experts and we deliver the service itself. The typical target, I would say, is really a company that needs help to grow and needs to or like struggles to get engagement or generate engagement with their actual targets. So we help them achieve that, like being able to speak with their prospects, really.
So how do you help them to do this?
Oh yeah, so in the specifics, so what we do is we have multiple levels of services, but
Mhm.
the primary way we do that is through cold emailing, cold LinkedIn approaches, also other channels. And the secrets, or how it really works and why it may stand out, is understanding who the target audience is the number one element you need to do. It's kind of like to make a comparison. If you're cooking, you need to know what ingredients you will
Mhm.
use, and not only have just ingredients. You need to have the best ones, the best absolute ones, because with bad ingredients you can't do anything good. So we focus a lot on the data research that we need to do, on the definitions of the personas that we need. The whole research of that is the primary element. But once you have this, like your bag of ingredients, or like what your addressable market is and who you should be talking to, it's a matter of being able to create an engagement with them. So we use today cold emailing, cold LinkedIn approaches to do that, and generating leads through these approaches on a weekly basis, basically.
So if you do this process, does it take a couple of days, hours,
Yeah.
or weeks to just reapproach the perfect target that you want to select?
Yeah, it takes time, of course, because usually the companies that we work with, they target C-level executives, VPs, decision makers. It's B2B. So because it's B2B, there's also multiple touch points. We're at top of the funnel. We create that first level to get leads into the funnel, so that the salespeople that we work with in our clients' teams can take it from there and move them through the different stages. In terms of how long it takes, usually reactions can come quite quick. I would say within 2 weeks, a month of positive reaction, being able to schedule meetings, speak, and make a demo, whichever works for the clients. But the preparation work for that, when we start an engagement like this, it takes about 2 weeks for us to onboard because we need to set up a lot of things. We use also internal tools to be able to automate a lot of the process. And there's a creative element that we have to adapt for every company we work with. Yeah. Just to add on, because I think this question is quite interesting. Is this is one action that we do, like in terms of outbound to kind of, it's a bit of a quick fix. Like we need to get leads, we need to scale fast. How do we do this? Okay, let's speak to the Scalelab and they'll help us talk to our prospects. That's one thing, but this is one action, and usually an action is also built as part of a longer term strategy. You're raising funds. You've raised 50 million, 100 million. The strategy is not to scale for just 1, 2 weeks, 3 months, or 6 months. Is how far can we go? When can we IPO, exit, or anything else? So we come in also as consultants to help, what we call scale projects, to build throughout actions throughout outbound as well as inbound, and help those companies to generate demand across the wholesale cycle for with their prospects.
I know that there is a couple of companies similar to yours in Europe and USA. I
Yes.
didn't see so much companies doing this here in Asia.
Yeah.
Is it really difficult for you to penetrate the market or to engage the discussion with other fintechs or tech companies using the services?
Yeah, I think it's very interesting what you say. U.S. market is very mature in terms of demand generation. Most of the companies you hear here talk mostly about lead generation, so it's very like action driven. Whereas demand, there's more process and with multiple touch points as well. It's also a matter of nurturing your leads, creating also compelling content and so on, and combining really outbound and inbound. It's the whole process of scaling really. What happened, I would say, is maybe 2 3 years ago, the market was also very different. So there were like fundraisers and so on, but less open to working with experts because the expertise was not around necessarily in Asia. It was individual, so you could hire growth managers and so on, but hardly you'll hear about demand generations. What you saw as well is throughout COVID, because what we do is mostly online, or at least remote in a way. There's been a lot more demand to do this because you could less go to events. You couldn't, like meet people in person at whatever dinners or for coffees and so on. So they needed another way to engage with people, and realizing also that even though your target market might be Hong Kong, for instance, actually you could also work with companies anywhere else in the world. So that opened up a lot, and we're in a phase right now where the market gets more educated in terms of what we do as well, and understands also the needs that they could do, because they've tried also other things that haven't worked necessarily all the time, and need a solution that can actually help them.
And as the world is opening up right now, because you spoke about COVID just before,
Yeah,
do you see a new trend in terms of reaching out to customers
yeah.
or for sales marketings?
Well, interesting. We see different trends also internally as a company. We're
Mhm.
fully remote. We're a team of 15 right now. We're still growing and we're hiring. But because we are remote, we're also attracting a set of people who don't want to go back to their offices.
Mhm.
So people who are very experienced in the different roles in terms of growth, helping like or even some like previous business owners and so on. Um, who don't want to be in offices, and they would rather work from anywhere they can, home-based jobs or anywhere else, but that also translates into doing business. One thing is, I like to remember that in the world of B2B, so business to business, it's always a human to human
Mhm.
interactions that make the difference, and that people tend to forget that it's actually humans who do this. What did changed is people are more inclined, to do a virtual meeting because it's going to take them also less time
Mhm.
to go to commit to, and so on. You will get more done as well, so the conversation can be actually more efficient. And not only this, so as we said just before, it opens up different markets, so it actually accelerates your potential of growth. And not a lot of companies actually are seizing this. Some, in a way, that you still have to meet in person sometimes with people, but you can see deals done of over 1 million US over phone, Zoom, or any other means.
You also spoke about having like some of the fintech companies as your customers. Do you have other industries in your customer base?
Yeah, so that's a good question as well. Typically, regardless of the industry, we work with B2B companies that are in the software space
Okay.
and service space as well. Their ticket sizes will range from, I would say, a minimum of 20K US per deal they sign,
Mhm.
up to over 1 million. What matters really is that it's not a low ticket size; it's a high ticket size in general that we work with, and that their sales cycles are above 6 months. So usually, I'd say in general, 6 to 12 months. But we do work also with companies that have like a 24 months sales cycle, and what they need us is to be able to not only like create a first interaction with the lead, but also like keep that going so that they can have an influx of lead over time. So beyond fintech, we've done retail, we've done fashion, we've done admin, we've done HR actually as well. We've even done oil and gas at some point, so like energy related. Yeah, so it's mostly the type of company rather than just the industry.
So this shows names is what the fintech. So basically, it's how we apply new technologies compared to sometimes human behaviors, or like compare the performance of a new process of workflow compared to the traditional ones. Could you compare yourself to a traditional sales teams from a company? What do you bring compared to them exactly in terms of figures? Do you save some times? Do you generate more revenue? Do you create more reach out for less money?
Yeah. To give some context, like growing a company is a tedious task. It's difficult, and it also relies heavily on the capacity of being able to find new clients, really, be profitable and grow. The problem usually is that some companies don't put enough resources in it. So I would say it does happen that we see, nothing against like a junior in terms of seniority,
Mhm.
but being in charge of the revenue of a company when you're junior, it's a lot of pressure, actually. So there's not always the right resources that are put in place for this. It's a matter of experience, a matter of also finding the right talents and so on. And secondly, there's not always the right skill set for that. Some people have a traditional way of doing things, whereas the world itself is evolving. You're talking about fintech, so these are not traditional companies. These are companies that need to do things differently. They're disrupting a market. They're changing the behaviors. So their operations are also changing. How we differentiate as a team or as a company is that we bring in an experience or an expertise from the start. There's minimal training needed. What we tend to be and like to praise ourselves is that we can hit the ground running just because of the set of people we work with, who like run businesses, exited businesses, want to understand how others can grow. So we bring that experience that would take you more time actually to do if you had to hire a team to do exactly what we do. That's one. But in terms of results, usually it's being able to speak to your prospects. So we
Mhm.
really like drive conversations. Sometimes we help to shorten also the sales cycles as well, because there's this conversation that starts a lot earlier as well. And the typical ROI, of course, the goal is to be able to sign deals. So that's where we really come in.
I see a couple of companies doing some API to reach out to other companies through LinkedIn.
Mhm.
Is your solution a SaaS model, or do you use like still the human touch and mix
Yeah.
like kind of mix of tools
Yeah.
that you are using right now?
Yeah, so what we call ourselves, I mean, we're in an industry that's called productized service. So initially, it was a based business. So
Mhm.
we deliver, something as humans, but there's a process and a clear delivery. Like the way we work, the business model is straightforward. You pay there's a fixed fee, a monthly subscription, basically that allows you to generate an average of leads that will get you on a monthly basis. In terms of how it is operated, there's a part that is human because there's a creative element. Every company has a different tone of voice, a different industry, so the messaging that you need to use is going to be completely different. There's also the part of researching who you should be targeting. A lot of it, of course, we automate. We use scraping tools. We have a huge database that we also update regularly, so we know also who we get in touch with and so on. So we facilitate that work through tech, and these technologies use multiple APIs from existing softwares, but that we use, and we have like our internal tools really that we use.
Okay, okay. Um, Quick question because for every person's coming here, I ask them how they see the industry in 5, 10 years. So how do you
Yeah,
see your industry impacting by the technology in 5 years?
yeah.
What will be a sales later or sales teams?
That's a good question. I think a lot of companies are asking themselves also what is sales going to be and in the future. And this is my opinion as well. And I see really sales evolving this way in the next 5 to 10 years. There's 2 points. For me, number one is a lot of companies actually will be outsourcing sales. Product-based companies specifically will want to focus more on their product, less not necessarily on the growth, but they'll be happy to outsource it. So having referrals or like clients coming in and so on. And we actually see that with existing clients as well. Um, what that means is that also finding, like SDRs, salespeople, and so on, is an extremely competitive market. The best sales, they are either in the best paying companies or they work on their own and they just like make introductions and so on. So finding good salespeople is very difficult. Outsourcing it will become a norm, I think, in a way. I'm not saying that because we're in the outsourcing, but what's going to come later on is that I think the world of sales is going to be a decentralized world of sales where you will have individuals who will be selling for different companies. Because if you speak to a company that has problem A, they might have problem B, C, and D. But if you work for only one company, you can only solve problem A. But if you have multiple hats, like I don't know, you need to implement a CRM, also a communications tool in the company, and so on, a salesperson could do all of these and solve the problems of that very company at the same time. So I think we'll evolve into a decentralized way of not only working but also selling for companies. And lastly, and this is I think an important element, which is the personal brand. And I think it's highly underestimated in the B2B space. We know, like influencer marketing for retail companies, fashion companies, and so on. But in the B2B space, you're an influencer yourself, Mehdi.
Oh,
So
thank you.
yeah, I mean, you've got a very strong brand. I mean, a huge following on your newsletter, also on YouTube, and it's pretty amazing what you do. So you create a trust without necessarily selling. But if you were selling for another company, I think you'd be much better than any other sale that would be hired internally. So you wouldn't necessarily need to work for another company, but you could have a sort of contract for multiple companies to help them sell because you're able to have a strong brand. And that, I think, is going to be the turning point of outsourced sales in general with individuals who've got and build their own personal brand and deliver value to an audience that they nurture over time.
What's next for you for the next 6 months?
Well, for the next 6 months, we're scaling ourselves as a Scalelab. We're hiring a lot. We're actually onboarding quite a lot of clients as well. We've just started our YouTube channel as well because we believe strongly in
What is the name of
the
the
brand.
YouTube channel?
It's called the Scalelab, actually.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
So yeah, it's mostly where we share tips, tools, and templates for anyone who wants to crush their sales targets in a way. Um, the focus for us is growing as a company for the next 6 months. We are also developing our own products, so we'll develop SaaS softwares as well that we will launch, and eventually, where we want to become is we'll be able to build and invest in companies that we scale because right now we scale other companies, but we want to be able to use that experience and expertise for others, but also for ourselves.
Do you recruit people at this moment?
We're recruiting for account managers. We're looking for a CTO as well, and eventually, but that's a longer shot for 2023. We're raising a fund as well, so we'll probably be looking for a fund manager.
So if someone want to apply to your company, how they can do it?
They can go through the website. We have a job board, and they
Mhm.
can also reach out to myself. I mean, my email is very straightforward. I'll share it, of course, with our HR. But you can email Youssef at thescalelab.com. We also have our HR's email to engage with, and she'll take it from there.
I have a couple of closing questions for you.
Yes, of course.
I know you read a lot of books. Do you have like some recommendation for anyone who want to level up
Um,
their sales systems or maybe just their
yeah.
life?
Yeah, I think probably it's actually a good question. This was just for you to know. This was not prepared, so I'm trying to put not the other questions weren't either, but for sales specifically, because I had this conversation recently with a good friend of mine. Um, the book that I would highly recommend to anybody who's in sales is called "Never Split the Difference" from Chris Voss, who is the FBI head of negotiation for anyone who's I think you read the book probably, or like we spoke about it. But anyways, it's an amazing book that teaches a lot about how you should listen rather than than just like pitch. Understand who you speak to as well, and not necessarily seek for a yes, as in like, are you interested? Yes, but seek rather for a no, which is a stronger way of having a commitment for someone. I mean, I don't want to talk too much
Mhm.
about it, but this is probably the book that has helped me and is still helping me not only for sales, but also for individual relationships, personal relationships, whichever they are.
Okay. And any blogs you can recommend for people to learn a bit more about the new sales technique or new sales trends?
Well, we have our own blog
Okay,
from
cool.
the Scalelab. There's multiple ways you can learn. There's a person you can follow on LinkedIn that also has a podcast called Josh Brown
Mhm.
and teaches amazing techniques and tricks about selling. In fact, he's actually done also episodes with Chris Voss, so the author of the book I just mentioned.
Where the listener or the people watching this video can
Yes.
learn more about you?
Um, I'm active mostly on LinkedIn as well as on Twitter. So you can find me there. We're just started our YouTube channel last week, so I'll be very active on that too.
Mhm.
But that's mostly where you can find me. Yeah.
Okay. And can you share again the name of your company, the website, all the information that you need to share with everyone?
Yeah, of course. Do you want me to do this now? You mean?
Yeah, you can
Or?
do it right now.
Of course. So the name of the company is the Scalelab, and you can search on it. It's www.thescalelab.com. Watch out because I just recently heard that there was a doppelganger called Scalelab.com, but we are the Scalelab, just to be precise. On LinkedIn, well, my name is Youssef El Kaddioui. There's also our company account. And on Twitter, you can follow me at underscore the use, so TheYouss, and I'm pretty active actually on it, so you can just message me as well.
Perfect, Youssef. Thank you very much for coming today.
Yeah, this is awesome. Thank you very much, Mehdi, and I hope that everybody who listened, fintech or non-fintech, will be able to scale with some of the advice we just shared.
Thank you very much. I will see you next week with a new guest speaker for this show. And do not hesitate to follow us and to like, comment, and share the videos, the podcast, everything. Thank you very much. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye, everyone.